It is commonly assumed that small groups, like, for example, the Jews or the Baha'is, are vulnerable to human rights violations. However, large religions with hundreds of millions of adherents, like Christianity, perhaps even 1 billion Christians live in the world today, the common assumption is that they're not in danger. I was shocked when a friend of mine living here in Israel brought to my attention that a number of Palestinian Muslims who had found Jesus and became believers, that their lives were in danger, that they were being arrested and they were being tortured and they were being denied employment, driven out of their houses, having their children attacked, etc., etc. And so it seemed to me to be a natural topic to want to explore what exists but is not yet recognized. That's what human rights is all about. It's not simply going in a straight line with your eyes closed. It's about discovering issues and victims who have not been recognized thus far.
I was born in a Christian family, a Christian background. My family is a Christian for like 4 or 5 generations, but it's a tradition Christian. It's not born again Christian, and we live among Muslims. And all I know from the Bible, I know nothing from the Bible, but all I know is what's the Quran teaching, because you can hear this everywhere, in the mosque, in the school, in the TV, in the radio. You're surrounded with the Muslims' teachings. So I get depression, and I decide to commit suicide. And I live a miserable life. Even my family is a big family with the leadership. They are the leadership of the area, and we are very well educated, very well. We are farmers. We have big lands and things. It's very good family. But for me, I was sick. Something missing me. I was lonely, and I decided to commit suicide. As I said, then God visited me in a special way, and Jesus showed himself to me as he loved me, he died for me, and I never heard these teachings before. So I gave my life to Jesus. Since that, it was 1982, since that day, I know I got the love of God. I have this love, the special love of God. And I start loving myself, loving everybody around me, loving my children, and the whole world was changed. No more hatred, no more depression, no more tortured, We used to live with the Muslims in the same area, with Christian being leadership, being in charge of everything, is more peaceful than now. After the BLO took over, they bring other leadership, people from outside. They didn't know anything about the culture. They didn't know anything about our perspective, our things, and they just force their laws over the people, which is Muslims' laws, and what they understand and how they deal with things is different. It's not with a human perspective. It's just, I don't know how to say it, but it's not the same way it was before. So people now are under a lot of pressure because the law of Muslims is violence. It's a lot of violence. It's not fair. It's not justice. There's no justice there. So, and you have living in that areas with the Muslims taking over everywhere, in the laws, in the courts, in the radios, in the education system, everywhere. You hear just their laws, their teachings, the Quran teachings, their laws, what they believe, what they didn't believe, how they solve things, is their ways, Muslims' ways. So there's no more Christian life. There's no more freedom for you to choose or to decide anything. They just force you to accept what they want in different ways. So you feel like they living with you in your house, with the TV, with the radio, with everything. So even when you wake up, when you sleep, they took over everything. So it's not safe anymore. There's no freedom anymore, It's not easy. We are living a lot of challenge. We love to leave the country. A lot of people already left. They immigrated to different countries, like Canada, Australia, even to Europe, Sweden. A lot of families from my town, they left to Sweden because they didn't like the way the things is going on. They can't say, hey, we didn't like what you are doing, because they will be in a big trouble. You can't express yourself. You have to show them that you are happy and you are right. If you show different things, you are in a big trouble. And most of the people, they are afraid of them because they use violence, and there are a lot of evil inside them. So you can't deal with these things on your own. You need support. You need backup. You need somebody to understand the situation so they can change it.
When I'm small, I have big family in my village. This family, half Islamic Heart, Hamas, and another half PLO. And I'm reading the Quran is very well. After a time when I'm coming 16 or 17 years, I'm reading the Bible. And I understand what meaning the Bible. And before, when I'm reading the Quran and understand what he said the Quran, after time, I find one brother. This is a lawyer from Finland. In some countries in the Gulf. This man, he gave me the Bible and told me reading the Bible and told me about believing Yeshua. I told him, give me time. I went reading the Bible more very well. When I'm reading the Bible, I'm feeling it's my book. I'm feeling Yeshua live in my heart. I'm feeling this is my way. Before time, I check about this way, believe in Yeshua. And I'm believing Yeshua in these countries. After time, I'm coming in Israel and in Gaza. The PLO give me a hard time and put me in the jail 12 months. Because I talk the people about believers in Yeshua and give them the Bible and learning these people how reading the Bible, what meaning the Bible, how understand the chapter for any book. When I'm sitting 12 months in the jail, I'm suffering in the jail and I'm tired because he put me more than 25 days, my hand up in the station police and my heart down in the bathroom. And the PLO, he want me stop this way. And he want me call him how many percent believers for me, and name these people. I know Kenneth said, I am believing Yeshua about these people. Because the Palestinian rule said when you are Muslim and coming Christian, keep you in the jail, put you in the jail 10 years. And Hamas rule said when you are Muslim and coming Christian, they kill you. And I like to pray for me always. Next time I said, yes, I'm believing Yeshua. I'm a Christian.
Thousands and tens of thousands of Palestinian Christians have left. They've given up their stake in the Holy Land. They've left their properties, their businesses, their neighborhoods, and they're living now in places like Chile, like Canada, some in the United States, some in Belize. There are much larger congregations of Palestinian Christians in some foreign countries than there are right here in the Holy Land. And so you can't look at this dramatic decline. Currently, Palestinian Christians comprise less than 2% of the population in the Palestinian areas. That means it's more than 98% Muslim and a few fragments of other small groups. And if you think about that, a few decades ago, the Christians comprised more than 20%. And so you can attribute part of the difference to perhaps a higher birth rate amongst the Muslims or some moving geographical rearrangement, but you can't explain a drop from over 20% to under 2% any other way. And they have a lot to they have a lot to stay for. I mean, this is the cradle of Christianity. Many of the holy sites are in Jerusalem or near Jerusalem, and people who leave are risking doing what the Archbishop of Canterbury said when he spoke on the subject about 10 years ago, and he said that he was afraid that the Holy Land would become a kind of Christian theme park, like a Disneyland, because without Christians, with certain, let's say, rides or attractions or relics, but without the actual Christians. If you go to the old city of Jerusalem now, the Christian quarter, the shops, there used to be 50 or 100 Christian-owned shops. I think there are 3 now in the Christian quarter of the old city. The general population, the residential population in the Christian quarter is overwhelmingly Muslim. Towns like Bethlehem, that a few decades ago used to be 80%, 90% Christian. There were hardly any Muslims. Now are more than 80% Muslim. What kinds of persecution? What's causing them to leave? Well, it's a long and troubling list. There is discrimination in employment. It's almost impossible for Christians to find work in the bureaucracy in the civil service of the Palestinian Authority. It's very difficult for Christians to keep a business going because they are so often extorted as Palestinian officials and various thugs and toughs come into the business or come into the shop and demand money or demand protection money, demand goods, and don't pay for them. There is rampant sexual harassment, particularly of Christian women, who some of them feel as though they have to wear the Muslim dress, the Muslim Orthodox shadur, or the long robes and the head covering, simply so they won't be harassed. Many of the churches feel a threat. There's a common expression amongst Palestinian Muslims: today is Saturday, but tomorrow is Sunday, which means today their target is the Jews, or the Israelis, because their holiday, their Sabbath is on Saturday. But after that, they'll take care of the Christians whose Sabbath is on Sunday.
And this time, when you are working PLO and working Hamas, you have food, you have life. You are not work about this. People don't have food, don't have life, don't have milk about children. And you know, the European city, same Sweden and Denmark and British, help PLO about food, help PLO about everything in the Palestinian people. But here in Gaza, what happens? The food or the milk or everything sent the European city. He takes some people work in PLO or in Hamas. He gives some brother for him and another food he pay in the shop. For me and for my brother and sister believers in Yeshua, and this time hungry. And I don't know when you're feeling what meaning hungry about women or about children. When don't have job, the Israeli close or road, nobody go in Israel work, now more than 6 months. And nobody help me and help my brother and the family believers in Yeshua.
Yeah, we have in my family, we have a lot of trouble with Muslims in my town. They against Christian, they try to get their lands by force, they try to buy their homes, they try to, and even they beat up some of the families with the children and wives and everything. They want us to leave. They said they deserve this country because they are dying for it, but we didn't deserve it because we do nothing. We're sitting just enjoying our life. So they think this land belongs to them, not to any other people. So soon they will ask us to leave, which is they can't do it in their ways. They put a lot of pressure over people, so people will choose to leave and left to give them everything. It's a different way of occupation. It's a different way of stealing things. So if they want to rent a house and you said, no, you are in a big trouble. You have to give them your house. You have to give them this. You have to give them that. And a lot of problems, which is nobody knows about, is between Muslims and Christians. So Christians have to solve it and to not to make it going and going, because that will hurt everything. That will bring more trouble. So we are the one we would say, okay, it's okay, just, like to cut off all the fights and things, even if it's not fair, it's not justice for us. We have to stop that because it's ended big and developed, a lot of problems. And then you are not safe to walk in the street, that you are not safe to be even in your home. They can attack you, do whatever they think, and you can't even accusing them. It's very dangerous to accuse anyone. That make you go to more trouble, more bigger problems. This is why people, they are controlled by a fear, spirit of fear. They can't express themselves. They can't say what they said, what they feel, what they like, what they, they have to say what they want to say. They want them to say. They have to show what they want them to show. I mean, the BLO leadership. You are not allowed to say any other news, because the world have to know that they are good with Christian. They deserve to be in leadership. They deserve to have their own what do you call it, country or state. So we have to show people what they want us to show people. It's not to tell the truth. If you tell the truth, you are in big trouble. A lot of Christians, they goes with this. They are afraid. A lot of people, because a lot of Christians, they were saying different things. They had a lot of threats through phones and, so they decide to They want to be saved. They don't want to be killed, or they don't want to be tortured. Because we're already living in a very hard situation. We're already under a lot of pressure. A lot of people getting sick because they can't express what they want.
Over about the past 25 years, Islam has been on the march, beginning with the Iranian Revolution at the end of the 1970s and extending through the entire region. There is a growing phenomenon, some of it Shia and some of it Sunni, of extreme xenophobia towards dissidents, towards minorities. And in this entire region, there's been you could say, a bleeding or a departure or an intimidation of minorities, the largest one of which is, of course, the Christian minority. Whether you're talking about the Copts in Egypt or the Maronites in Lebanon, there is, or some of the different Christian groups in Syria, in Morocco, there is a feeling of danger, uncertainty as to whether there's any future in those countries for Christians, and of course, I don't have to say for Jews and for other minority groups, if there are any there at this point. And if one goes back and looks at Islam, there is actually a doctrine which explains to a large extent what's going on here. The doctrine is dhimitude. Dhimitude is a second-class form of citizenship which, since the time of Muhammad, about 1,300, 1,400 years ago, has been common up until the recent century or two, has been common in the Islamic-dominated culture. Basically what it says is that people of the book are not forced to convert to Islam. They're not told it's either the sword or you become Muslim. They are allowed to continue to live in a majority Muslim culture, but there are certain limitations. They must pay, you could say, a kind of protection tax to the government. They can't build their churches or their synagogues as tall as the mosques. If the Muslims ride horses, the dhimmis, or in this case the Christians, cannot. They can ride donkeys. It's a way of telling members of these minorities that they are tolerated, but they are inferior. And so naturally, when it comes to learning a basic and a core doctrine like this, you will find some Muslims and some Muslim religious and political leaders who see this as an opportunity to squeeze the Christians, to squeeze them either to be unwilling supporters of Palestinian nationalism, or to squeeze them financially by taking their property, threatening them, burning their cars, attacking their children.
So it's like choosing between death and life. So what else? Freedom and death, or pressure and life, or stress and life. So it's a very hard situation where we are, and nobody knows about that. People knows what they want to know, but we are suffering a lot of humiliated. The problem is the teaching they have, the things they raise up on. This, they fill them, since they are children, they fill them with hatred and selfishness and all these things, So they grow up, they ignore other side. Some people, they think we are occupied by the Jewish and they mistreated us and we are suffering from them. it's not this. It's not true. Yes, incubation is very hard and it's not easy, and we didn't like it, but we suffer from the Muslims' teachings more of the Jewish incubation, because this is different type of incubation. Muslims' teachings, they you make you breathe their Quran, breathe your their teachings. You have to listen to their teachings every way, every day, in every ways, in the radio, in the TV, satellites, mosques, teach schools, everywhere. Everywhere you have to hear their teachings, and it's like poisoning. But with a Jewish incubation, it's not getting into your house. It's if you are in your house, you are safe. There's no more suffering with that. It's like if you did not come to contact with the soldiers, they did not do anything to you. You can live your life in your home freely, worship God, do whatever you want until you break their rules or then you are in a big trouble.
Maybe in 1 week, 2 week, I make 2 meetings or 1 meeting, in the city or in the village, in 1 o'clock in the morning, in the night. And I don't have light, I close the light in the room. Sometimes all brother and sister crowd reading the Bible and afraid. And I think you know what meaning when you are afraid and tired. You don't have security in yourself, in your house, and you are afraid some people or Palestinian people, he come for you. This meaning he kill all people believers in Yeshua in this room. This meaning Hamas, when he know he have meeting in this room, he can keep bomb in this room and kill the children and kill the woman, kill the wife. They kill the people. And in this time is very, very hard for me. But I must not stop. I do, always. And I'm always reading the Bible. I'm married, I have 5 children. My wife, she believes in Yeshua. My wife, when I am the jail, she angry and she coming sick. The heart is tired and the head always beating. So, when I want to take him in the hospital, for me, suppose I pay money. But for another people work in Hamas or in BLO, free. Every night in the hospital in Gaza, $150. I pay this about wife and in my children. And I take him, why I pay money and another people not pay? I don't have money. And I want medicine about my wife. He said, you are a bad man. You are kafir. What meaning kafir then?
Infidel.
There's a doctrine central to Islam that if a Muslim converts to any other religion, becomes an apostate, that he is committing a capital offense, meaning it's entitled for other Muslims to kill him. Now, it's not always done, but the threat does overhang Muslims who would find Jesus. And I personally have interviewed people who've been arrested, who've been beaten, who've been harassed, have been charged with false criminal charges like stealing gold, have been burned with cigarettes on their back, had bones in their body broken. I mean, it's a very, very real situation where individuals who've done nothing more than take a new religion for themselves, sometimes not even for their family, suddenly find themselves at the center of a whirlwind of hatred, discrimination, and worse. And a big part of this is due to the growth and influence of Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. These are the two very active terrorist groups, which, in addition to planting human bombs in different parts of Israel, they've also been very active in intimidating Christians, in harassing Palestinian Christians, mind you, harassing particularly any Muslim who sees fit to worship as a Christian or believe in Jesus. And the fault of the Palestinian Authority is not just for the actions of its 11 or 12 security agencies, which are many times directly directed at Christians.
When I'm in the jail, I have more than 5% believers in Yeshua. The PLO and the secret police, he take these people and take me more, keep the head in the bathroom more than 25 days. Give me 2 hours, 3 hours, and after put you on the floor a little time and another time, the head in bathroom. And these people shouting, you talk Yeshua, come help you. But in this time, I'm always pray and ask Yeshua. When I put my head in the bathroom, I'm in my heart ask Yeshua, you look, you know everything about me and about brother in another room. Because my brother shouting and I am shouting because it's beating. Help me, take hand up. I'm just believe for you, Father. You look what happens for your son, for your brother, for your love you in these countries. And always thanks God and thank for love in Yeshua.
So in this time of darkness, like this time Jesus came. It was like this situation, Romans and Jew and persecution and all this darkness was controlling the area. Then Jesus bring the love, the message of love and salvation. And now it's the time. That's the time. And I hope God will move somebody's heart and they will identify and help in this situation. So this is the cry of every heart in the Middle East. They, with all this violence, their hearts is crying. I hear they're crying. They cry for help. And because they are insecure, they are unhappy, they are miserable. This is why what's in their hearts, they show. So if their hearts will change, things outside will change.
Not long ago, 2 of my researchers interviewed a Christian man who had been suffering, and his whole family had been suffering in Bethlehem. And he asked, very plaintively, he asked, why doesn't anybody care about us? Why, where are the human rights people? Where are the active Christian churches? Why doesn't anybody do something about us to help us, to save us? And that's the question that I have great difficulty answering, because there is tremendous potential for doing good in this part of the world. Regrettably, I think the bulk of the Christian West, the European West, seems disinterested, seems to look at cliches that are passed around in the various media outlets, cliches as to what's happening here or who's doing what, and to ignore the very basic core question of, will Christians still be in this region in 25 or 50 years? Will those Christians who try to hold on, will they have any support or any access to representation from the international human rights organizations? I have friends who go to church on Thursday night, Not on Sunday, on Thursday night. And why do they go on Thursday night? They don't, by the way, put on their nicest clothes and get in their car and go to church. They put on old clothes that make them look like farmers or laborers, and they walk through the orchards, across the fields, out to the highway, where an unmarked van picks them up and takes them to church. And they do this so they don't get recognized, so that so their neighbors or the local Hamas or Islamic Jihad people won't realize that they're now Christians. And I think that says something about what's at stake here. Will these people be able to live ordinary lives, or will they continue to be harassed and threatened and driven out from the place where their ancestors lived for so many years?